All right, we are in chapter 2 and we are going to discuss attacks, concepts, and techniques. So, the introduction of this chapter it covers the way that cybersecurity professionals analyze what has happened after a cyber attack, and it explains security software and hardware vulnerabilities and the different categories of security vulnerabilities that we have. We also discuss the different types of malicious software known as malware, and the symptoms of malware are also discussed, and the different ways that attackers can infiltrate a system are covered, as well as denial of service attacks. Most modern cyber attacks are blended attacks. And what are blended attacks? They use multiple techniques to infiltrate and attack a system. So when an attack cannot be prevented, it is the job of a cybersecurity professional to reduce the impact of that attack. They have to mitigate the risk. So, finding security vulnerabilities. Security vulnerabilities are any kind of software or hardware defects. After gaining knowledge of a vulnerability, malicious users attempt to exploit it. During the practical session yesterday, you guys were able to discover a vulnerability and you were able to exploit with the HRF to log into the admin dashboard and delete some user. So an exploit is the term used to describe any program written to take advantage of a known vulnerability. And the act of using an exploit against a vulnerability is referred to as an attack. So yesterday you were able to attack a vulnerability within a system. So the goal of the attack is to gain access to a system. Yeah, and that is what we did in the practical session. And the data it hosts or to a specific resources. So we have two kind of vulnerabilities. We have software vulnerabilities and hardware vulnerabilities. So software vulnerabilities are usually introduced by errors in the operating system or application code, despite all the effort companies put into finding and patching software vulnerability, and it is common for new vulnerability to surface. That is why if we did not turn off our Windows updates on our system, we will always be updating our OS because each and every day their security team are finding some vulnerability and they are patching the software. So we can see that Microsoft, Apple, and other operating system producers release patches and updates almost every day. And application also update are also common. You know, if you download, for example, if we download an application from Play Store and we update everything right now, by today or tomorrow again, you see an update again. So that's the update is always an occurring thing. So applications such as web browsers, mobile apps, and web server are often updated by the companies or organizations responsible for them. So in 2015, there's an example here. In 2015, a major vulnerability called sinful knock was discovered in Cisco IRS. And this vulnerability allowed attackers to gain control of enterprise-grade routers such as the legacy Cisco 1841, 2811, and 3825 routers. So these attackers could then monitor all network communication and had the ability to infect other network devices. And this vulnerability was introduced into the system when an altered iOS version was installed in the routers. So to avoid this, always verify the integrity of the downloaded iOS image and limit the physical access of the equipment or to authorized personnel only. Like I've said in our previous session, when we were about to download the bot suite, you can see there is a checksum there. So the checksum is meant for checking the integrity of the application we downloaded. And the goal of software update is to stay current and avoid exploitation of vulnerabilities. Those Some of us might turn off our Windows updates. To be sincere, we are exposed to vulnerabilities because each and every day the company that own the iOS operating system are making an update and patches on the operating systems. Not limited to the Windows operating system, our Android phone, iPhones, and the likes. So why some companies have penetration testing teams dedicated to search, find, and patch software vulnerabilities before they get exploited. Third-party security researchers also specialize in finding vulnerability in software. So that is what we are actually teaching you, to be a penetration tester so that you can find, search, and patch software vulnerabilities before they get exploited by third-party organization. So Google Project Zero is a great example of such practice. So we have another. After discovering a number of vulnerabilities in various software used by end user, Google formed a permanent team dedicated to finding software vulnerability. Google Security Research can be found here. And these iPhone and iPhone devices, phone and their laptop, whenever they design, they've written their operating system, they do hire some ethical hacker, penetration tester, different security team. They'll give them some little access for them to find any vulnerability in the software. And whoever find it, we go away with some ransom, like that. So we have hardware vulnerabilities. Hardware vulnerabilities are often introduced by hardware design flaws. Like RAM memory, for example, is essential capacitor installed very close to one another. So it was discovered that due to proximity, constant changes applied to one of these capacitors could influence neighbor capacitor. And based on that design flaw, an exploit called Rohammer was created. So by repeatedly writing memory in the same addresses, the Rohammer allows data to be retrieved from nearby address memory cells. Even the cells are protected. Hardware vulnerabilities are specific to device models and are not generally exploited through random compromising attempts, while hardware exploits are more common in highly targeted attacks. Traditional malware security has sufficient protection for the everyday user. Rarely we do have an hardware vulnerabilities, unlike the software vulnerabilities. Okay, types of security vulnerabilities. So here we are categorizing security vulnerabilities, and we have different categories of them. We have buffer, non-validated inputs, race condition, weakness in security practices, access control problems, and the like. The buffer overflow. This vulnerability occurs when the data is written the limit of a buffer. And buffers are memory areas allocated to an application. By changing data beyond the boundaries of the buffer, the application accesses memory allocated to other processes, and this can lead to a system crash, data compromise, or provide escalation of privileges. Like for example, when you assign maybe like 2 MB to an application, and there's a buffer overflow, the application might exceed that 2 MB and use out of other processes. And On most of us, those of us that use Android devices, when you go to your developer option, there are some settings that we can do to actually run into buffer overflow, but I would not want us to try that. So we also have non-validated inputs. Programs often work with data input. In fact, all programs. And this data coming into the program could have malicious content designed to force the program to behave in an unintended way. Let's consider a program that receives an image for processing. A malicious user could craft an image file with invalid image dimensions, and the maliciously crafted dimensions could force the program to allocate buffers of incorrect and unexpected sizes. We also have an example of SQL injection. You know, when there is no validation, for example, a form for a web app, when there is no validation on those forms, there will always be an SQL injection where you will use to tweak the form and do a lot of stuff on it. So we have race condition. This vulnerability is when the output of an event depends on ordered or timed output. The race condition becomes a source of vulnerability when the required order or time event do not occur in correct order or proper timing. For example, like a queue. If you are trying to transfer a file on your system and you have a lot of files, so and the required order of time do not actually occur in the correct order or proper timing, like instead of the first file to finish, it's going to the last file. So there we have a race condition. Weaknesses in security practices. System and sensitive data can be protected through techniques such as authentication, authorization, and encryption. And developers should not attempt to create their own security algorithm because it will likely introduce vulnerability. And it is strongly advised that developers use security libraries that have already been created, tested, and verified. As a developer, for example, for me as a developer, I don't create my own security algorithm, but rather I do make use of a library that has been created, tested, and verified. Because those that actually build the library, they will have done a lot of tests and a lot of exploitation to find any vulnerability. But as a developer, you want to show that you too Sabina. So some might lay, some might in that process might develop a security algorithm. And unknowingly for the developer, it might be some weaknesses in the security algorithm he develops. The next one is access control problem. Access control is the process of controlling who does what and ranges from managing physical access to equipment to dictating who has access to a resource, such as file, and what they can do with, such as read or change the file. And many security vulnerabilities are created by the improper use of access control. When we are trying to exploit the vulnerability we found during our practical section of the admin panel. And before that, we noticed that only user can do transfer, while the admin can actually delete user and do many more. So in that case, if the developer did not even specify any access control, that user can actually delete himself or do other some privileges, yeah, applications. Those are some examples of access control problem. So when developing an application, you have to create an access control, what user can do, what admin can do, what super admin can do, and the likes. So nearly all access control and security practices can be overcome if the attacker has physical access to target equipment. For example, no matter what you set a device permission to, the operating system cannot prevent someone from bypassing the operating system and reading the data directly off the disk. So to protect the machine and the data it contains, physical access must be restricted and encryption must be used to protect data from being stolen or corrupted. For example, your system hard drive, hard disk, your system hard disk, you can actually encrypt it. Even though your system, even though your system was stolen, the person cannot actually have access to your data. Though he might be able to bypass, but during bypass, all the data will be lost. So he might not have access to it and your data will be protected. So we have types of and symptoms. Malware is any code that can be used to steal data, bypass access. Sorry, before that, does anyone have question with what I've been discussing so far? We discussed about security vulnerability and exploit, then types of security vulnerability. Does anyone have question? Someone should please respond. Clearly. Hey, she can the log out, right? Ooh. Hey, Ada, you are trying to say something, please.
Okay, sorry. Good evening.
Good
It's
evening.
not a question anyways, but what I'm saying, the link to this material, the password is still, I can't even go in again. I don't know if it's only me.
You are not able to access the material, right?
Yes, yes.
Does anyone have the same issue here too? But do you type in the correct password?
Yes, that first day we had class, I did enter, but after that, I was not able to go in there again.
Wow. I think you might be having an issue. You know what? Try and paste the password. It probably work.
I should paste it, not typing it. I did paste, except I will type it now.
No, 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 no. I don't say you should type it too.
I was
As in
pasting it there.
copy and
Copy
paste
and
it.
paste.
Copy and paste.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
what I did. Let me try it again. So,
Okay. So does anyone ask another question? Please kindly respond though. All right, I think that's a no. So types of malware and symptoms. Malware is any code that can be used to steal data, bypass access control, or cause harm to or compromise the system. So we have some few common types of malware. Spyware. This malware is designed to track and spy on the user. And spyware often includes activity tracker, keystroke collection, and data capture. In an attempt to overcome security measure, spyware often modifies security settings, and spyware often bundles itself with legitimate software or with Trojan horse. When spyware is installed in a system, every keystroke on our keyboard, everything we type will be automatically be sent to the cyber criminal, the attackers, and they'll be monitoring everything you do. For example, those of us that are using Windows, when we press Windows V, you will see some list of what you have actually copied on your PC. So it is advisable to be turning off our keyboard so that we won't fall into this kind of attack. So we also have hardware. Advertising supported software is designed to automatically deliver advertisements. Hardware is often installed with some versions of software, and some hardware is designed to only deliver advertisements, but it is also common for hardware to come with spyware. Okay, speak on memory raises and
Okay, thank you, sir. Good day, sir.
yeah.
Please, I'd like to find out, would using an on-screen keyboard protect a user from spyware?
Whether you use on-screen keyboard or a physical keyboard, where it is installed, it will automatically be capturing your data or anything, and it will be tracking our activities. So when maybe we use our on-screen keyboard or not on-screen keyboard, spyware will still be active. Any question? Yeah. So we move next to bot. From the word robot. A bot is a malware designed to automatically perform action, usually online. While most bots are harmless, one increasingly use of malicious bots are botnets, and several computers are infected with bots, which are programmed to quietly wait for command provided by the attacker. For example, there was once a time I was a victim of this bot. I don't know how it just happened. On my Instagram profile, I only followed less than 1,000. But while surfing through the platform, I just noticed that how come I'm having 4,000 followers? How come am I following 4,000 people? So that's where, so some developers or programmers actually write both scripts for following and the likes. So on the process of trying to unfollow those that I not follow, my account was actually banned because it's against the rule of the community guideline for Instagram that you cannot follow more than some certain limit. And they actually informed me that it's either I have given my account to someone to help me create more followers and the like. But fortunately, I was able to regain that account back. So we have ransomware. This malware is designed to hold a computer system or the data it contains captive until a payment is made. Ransomware usually works by encrypting data in the computer with a key known to the user. Some other versions of ransomware can take advantage of specific vulnerability to lock down the system. And ransomware is spread by a downloaded file or some software vulnerability. That's why we need to be very careful of what kind of file we download. Once our PC or our devices are attacked with ransomware, we need to pay the attacker some money in any form. And after paying it, we can't guarantee the assurance that the attacker will give you the code to unlock your PC. So you also have scareware. This is a type of malware designed to persuade the user to take specific action based on fear. Like for example, scareware forges pop-up window that resemble operating system dialogues windows. These windows convey forged message stating the system it has reached or need the execution of a specific program to return to normal operation. And in reality, no problems are assessed or detected. And if the user agrees and clears the mentioned program to execute, his or her system will be infected with malware. For example, as explained in that paragraph, you might have a pop-up on our PC that if you not accept, I don't know, the attacker might use different kind of message construct or anything just to scare us that if I do not accept this thing might lock my system, or my system might do this, do that, and the likes. So they are using that attack to scare us. That's why it's called scareware. We also have rootkit, and this malware is designed to modify the operating system to create a backdoor. Attacker then use the backdoor to access the computer remotely, and most rootkits have advantage of software vulnerability to perform privilege escalation and modify system file. And it's also common for rootkit to modify system for and monitoring tools, making them very hard to detect. Often a computer infected by a rootkit must be wiped and reinstalled. That is the solution for the rootkit malware. When it's installed on a PC, it creates a backdoor. That is a loophole, a vulnerability where the attackers can use to access our system and do a lot of things. So we also have virus. A virus is a malicious executable code that is attached to other executable files, often legitimate programs. And most viruses require end user activation and can activate at a specific time or date. So it is advisable for us to have a genuine antivirus on our system. For those of us that are making use of USB optical discs and network shares or email, because it is where these viruses are being spread. We also have Trojan horse, and it's a malware that carries out malicious operation under the guise of a desired operation. The malicious code exploits the privilege of the user that runs it. Often Trojan horse are found in image files, audio files, or games. So a Trojan horse differs from a virus because it binds itself to non-executable files. Yeah, I said, it's the guise of a desired operation. Those of us that like gamings and the likes. Those of us that like to listen to music, audio files, and image files. And we collect it from unknown source and so. So there we can encounter Trojan horse. So worms are malicious code that replicate themselves by independently exploiting vulnerability in network. Worms usually slow down network, and whereas a virus requires a host program to run, worms can run by themselves. That's incredible for it. Other than the initial infection, they no longer require user participation. After a host is infected, the worm can spread very quickly over the network. Worms share similar pattern, and they all have an enabling vulnerability, a way to propagate themselves, and they all contain a payload. Worms are responsible for some of the most devastating attacks on the internet. We have an example. If you see this image, the figure A in 2001, the code red worm infected 658 servers all around the world. And within 19 hours, the worm had infected over 300,000 servers as shown in figure B. So you can see the red color. That's how worms operate. Imagine just 658 servers. Then within 19 hours, it is 300,000 servers infected. We have man in the middle. Man in the middle allows the attacker to take control over a device without the user knowledge. With that level of access, the attacker can intercept and capture user information before relaying it to the intended decision. What we did in our first practical, that's what is called man in the middle. We were able to change the parameter for the value of a shopping item from 1,300 cents to 1 cent. So that's what we call man in the middle. So we did an HTTP intercept. That is what is called man in the middle. So to prevent that, there are a lot of ways to prevent that, but as a developer, only a developer can actually know what to do. So we also have man in the mobile, a variation of man in the middle, and is a type of attack used to take control over a mobile device. When infected, the mobile device can be instructed to exfiltrate user-sensitive information and send it to the attackers. Zeus as an example of an exploit with MITMO capabilities allow attacker quietly to capture two-step verification SMS messages sent to user. Can you see the devastating implication of man in the mobile? When a mobile device has been attacked, so they might want to log into our banking system where they need a one-time password, and it is sent in our devices, and our devices is already attacked by man in the middle. So without you knowing, they will capture that message and do whatever transaction they want to do. So types of malware. We have some symptoms of malware. Regardless of the type of malware a system has been infected with, there are some common malware symptoms. There's an increase in CPU usage, that is your processor is working at a faster speed, and there's a decrease in computer speed, your computer freezes or crashes, there's a decrease in web browsing speed, and there are unexplainable problems with network connection, files are modified, files are deleted, there's presence of unknown files, program or desktop icon, and there are unknown processes running. Programs are turning off or reconfiguring themselves, emails is being sent without the user knowledge or consent. These are just common, there are a lot, but these are just some few commons of them. So method of infiltration, social engineering. Social engineering is an access attack that attempt to manipulate individuals into performing action or divulging confidential information. Social engineers often rely on people's willingness to be helpful, but also prey on people's weaknesses. For example, an attacker could call an unauthorized employee with an urgent problem that requires immediate network access, and the attacker could appeal to the employee's vanity, invoke authority using name dropping techniques, or appeal to the employee's greed. These are just different ways of social engineering. And there are some types of social engineering attacks. We have pretexting, tailgating, something for something, quid pro quo. Pretexting is when an attacker calls an individual and lies to them to gain access to privileged data. An example involves an attacker who pretends to need personal or financial data to confirm the identity of the recipient. I believe this is very rampant nowadays because I was actually a victim of it. There was a time some people will just send a message to me that I have an issue with my banking platform, and they'll block my ATM, blacklist my BVNs, blah blah blah. So within few seconds, the person called me and he said, did I saw the message? He was saying he's talking from the bank. I said yes, and he now asked me, and he now said that my bank has an issues, and like he repeated what he said in the message. So that he need my date of birth, my ATM pins and the like. So I now asked the person, which bank are you calling from? The person now asked me that, which bank am I using? I said I have a lot of banks. When he now mentioned a bank that I'm not even using, I just end the call. Why some have actually fall for their prey where they've loot their monies and the like. So we have tailgating. This is when an attacker quickly follows an unauthorized person into a secure location. For example, in the banking sector, we have a place that is authorized and non-authorized for bank user, but only for staff of the bank. So, and for example, let me say, for example, their server room a staff has access to the server room and it takes some verification authentication to open the server room. So immediately the staff opened the server room and just went straight to the server room. Meanwhile, not unknowingly for the staff, the authorized personnel, another person which is not authorized has entered the server room with him. So that is what we call tailgating, and he might actually do some kind of attacks and the like. So that's what we call tailgating. So something for something, quid pro quo. This is when an attacker requests personal information from a party in exchange for something like a gift. We also have Wi-Fi password cracking. Wi-Fi password cracking is the process of discovering the password used to protect a wireless network, and there are some techniques used in password cracking. Like social engineering, the attacker manipulates the person who knows the password into providing it. We have brute force attack. The attacker tries several possible passwords to guess the password. And if the password is a 4-digit number, for example, the attacker would have to try every one of the 10,000 combination. Before, when we go and shop with our card, when we are given the receipt, we do have 16 digits on it, but they do star some numbers. Before, the banking system, we are using the last 4 digits of our credit card. But when they see that there has been a lot of vulnerability and exploitation to it, so they change it to 6 digits. And there are some software that can actually brute force the last the digit of the number. So, for example, we have the two called Oath Crack, Love Crack, TSC Hydra, Rainbow Crack, and Medusa. They are different. So that's what about network sniffing is by listening and capturing packets sent on the network. An attacker may be able to discover the password if the password is being sent unencrypted. And if the password is encrypted, the attacker may still be able to reveal it by using a password cracking tool. Network sniffing is just a device. For example, we have a router. On that router, we might enable telnet, SSH, and the likes. And when trying to log into our router or do some stuff, there's an attacker in the middle that is listening to what we sent, the data we are sending through FTP file transfer protocol. There are a lot to this. Let me not bore you with that. So we have phishing. Phishing is when a malicious party sends a fraudulent image disguised as being from a legitimate source, and the message intent is to trick the recipient into installing malware on their device or into sharing personal financial information. This actually occurs because recently there are a lot of Facebook accounts that has been cracked and hijacked. Phishing is like creating a web page that resembles, for example, let me make use of Facebook, creating a login web page that resembles Facebook or your banking app or any app that you do use, something like that. So when you are now inputting your own login details, you are submitting to the fisher's database. So the person will be able to see your credentials, your login, your password, and the likes. So most people that do not make use of multi-factor authentication on their application, they are vulnerable to this, and they'll snatch their account. That's where we hear my Instagram has been hacked, my Facebook has been hacked, my for every application we use, maybe web app or we download on our PC. As for me, each application I download or register on, the first thing I do is go to their security settings and enable two-factor authentication where I can make use of one-time password, Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator. There are a lot of authenticators. So the best to avoid this is setting up a two-factor authentication. We'll be able to prevent this. And funny enough, those stuff are not actually validated. Most of these phishing websites, they are not validated because there are times when I encounter such thing, I'll just write some rubbish on it and it will submit and it will lead me to another page successful. So those are some examples of it. So vulnerability exploitation. Exploiting vulnerability is another common method of infiltration. Attackers will scan computers to gain information about them. And below is common method for exploiting vulnerability. Step one, gather information about the target system. This could be done in ways such as pulse scanner or social engineering, as we discussed earlier. Step two is one of the piece of relevant information learned in step one might be the OS, its version, and the list of service running. Step three, when the target operating system and version is known, the attackers look for any known vulnerabilities specific to that version of OS and other OS service. That is why it is advisable to be updating operating system on all our devices. And when a vulnerability is found, the attackers look for a previously written exploit to use. And if no exploit has been written, the attacker may consider writing an exploit. I have an example here. On the picture, we have the attacker. The next picture is the attacker make use of whois.net. It's an application. So, and the attacker now type in cisco.com, like any website of your domain name of your choice, and that application now bring out the record, the registrant, Cisco Technology Incorporation. It bring out the address, in fact some vital information that do not need to be revealed to just anyone, unauthorized personnel. As I've discussed, figure C portrays an attacker using WHOIS, a public internet database containing information about domain names and their registrant. We have another one, Nmap tools. Nmap tools is a popular port scanner. And with a pop scanner, an attacker can probe up ports of a target computer to learn about which services are running on that computer. The first image is the attacker. He has access to the network infrastructure. Then he tries to make use of the Nmap tool to scan for ports, and it has entered the CPU. Now, the tool is now reporting back. You can see the list of some ports that are open, the SSH, the domain name, the RPC bind, IPP, MDC. So it might now be able to exploit this vulnerability when he knows the services that are running on the PC and the ports that are open. So we have advanced persistent threat. One way in which infiltration is achieved is through advanced persistent threat. They consist of a multi-phase, long-term, stealthy, and advanced operation against a specific target. And due to its complexity and skill level required, an APT is usually well funded. An APT target organization or nation for business or political reason. That's where we have a group of hackers. Some might be hired by a country or an organization, or they might even work on their own. So they will continue some persistent threat on any organizations or any platform they want to exploit. So usually related network-based espionage, APT's purpose is to deploy customized malware on one or multiple of the target system and remain undetected. So with multiple phases of operation and several customized types of malware that affect different devices and perform specific functions, an individual attacker often lack the skill set, resources, or persistence to carry out APTs. So advanced persistent threat cannot be carried out by only one person. It must be a group of persons. Like I watched a documentary, $1 billion heist. Though they were not able to escape with the $1 billion, but they are a group. They call them Lazarus group. So there are very many cyber criminal. So they have assigned role like they will assign a specific vulnerability to each and individual of them, and they will keep on at it. So whenever they are able to see the vulnerability, they will exploit it. So during the documentary that I watched, they try to access a World Bank that reserve all the country money in dollars. So they try all possible means, they couldn't. So one thing is that they now develop a CV that someone, a CV for someone that is looking for job. So they send it to like 38 users in that banking system. Only 3 people were able to open that CV, and immediately they open it, a malicious was installed on the system. That's how they infiltrate the system and do their crimes. Now, we have DOS, DDoS, and SEO. DOS is distributed denial of service attack, while DDoS is distributed denial of service attack, and SEO is search engine optimization. This is an example of a DOS attack. This man is a DOS attacker. He says, I will send so many pings that the server can't respond to anyone else. Now, you send a lot of pings, a lot of packets, data, blah, 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 into a server called XYZ Corp. So, after choking the server said, help, I can't accomplish any work. Another user was now trying to access a website. That's that this website is very slow today. That is an example of denial of service attack. They are denying you of your service. It's a website that you can access frequently without any slowness or sluggishness or whatever kind of network. So due to the denial of service attack, the person was not able to access, or the website is slow. So a denial of service attack results in some sort of interruption of network service to user, device, or application. And there are two major types. We have overwhelming quantity of traffic and malicious formatted packet, which the attacker sent. We also have DDoS. This is a distributed denial of service. Now, let me use this illustration. Distributed denial of service. This DDoS attacker will send a ping, not to this server, it will send it to different kind of system. So those sent pings will now be awaiting an execution from the attackers. So after the attacker now activate the pings, all this system will now be overwhelming this server. The pings that the attacker sent to different systems, those systems are called zombies. Zombies infect zombies. And these systems are called zombies during the attack. They can also attack other systems too when executed when the attacker initiate it. So we have SEO poisoning too. Search engines such as Google work by ranking pages and presenting relevant results based on user search queries. And depending on the relevance of website content, it may appear higher or lower in search results. So SEO poisoning is to increase traffic to malicious sites that may host malware or perform social engineering. For example, if you search for Jumia or any other common app, immediately it is Jumia you will see on top. But SEO poisoning, when an attacker actually make an SEO poisoning, it might replace that Jumia as you are saying as the first result that you saw. It might replace it with another application or web app which contains malicious content. And when we click it, a lot of damages occur. Any question? Kindly raise your hand if you have a question. Okay, Emory, speak on.
Okay, so please, I was going to ask about SEO poisoning.
Yes.
So you said the attacker would replace it with a different application, right? So is the
Yeah.
different application going to probably bear the same name or something? How exactly would this work?
Okay. For example, let's assume that you didn't know about Jumia. You now try to search for e-commerce platform. So as when you try to search for e-commerce platform, so the first website is show is Jumia, but otherwise it shows another application. But you unknowingly for you don't even know about Jumia or other application. For Google to become the number one when you try to search, they might they might have done some search engine optimization that people are actually visiting this site and it's genuine. That's why they make it number one when it comes to e-commerce platform. So the attackers might now make use of SEO poisoning. That is replacing the number one position with his own application, which is not Google. And anything you find on the number one list of Google, let me just say is genuine or some kind like that. So have I explained your question? Have I answered your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So it's not as if it will replace, it will change the application. No, it will just change the position. That's what we call SEO poisoning. That is the traffic of the application. So the cybersecurity landscape, blended attack. Blended attacks are attacks that use multiple techniques to compromise a target. By using several different attack techniques at once, attackers have malware that are a hybrid of worm, Trojan horse, spyware, keylogger, spam, and phishing scheme. And the trend of blended attack is revealing more complex malware and placing user data at great risk. So the most common type of blended attack uses spam email message, instant message, or legitimate website to distribute links where malware or spyware is secretly downloaded to computer. Recently, I've been receiving a message that if you are looking for job, 45,000 on my SMS. Imagine how were they able to get my number and a lot. So some people that are desperate for a job, they might actually click. Imagine they don't even want to construct it. They are now making use of WhatsApp because I'm a cyber security specialist. I know their techniques. That was why I'm not a victim of those kind of attacks. So blended attacks are continuous and multiple techniques in attacking a user in a different way. So many of the most damaging computer worms like Nimda, Codebread, Bugbear, Slammer are better categorized as blended attack as shown below. There are a lot. So we have impact reduction. What is impact reduction? Why the majority of successful companies today are aware of common security issues and put considerable effort towards preventing them. No set of security practices is 100% efficient. That's just it. Because a breach is likely to happen if the price is big, companies and organizations must also be prepared to contain the damage. So, like by financial institution, if an attacker just exploits a vulnerability, the price, so they need to prepare to contain it. And it is important to understand that the importance of a breach is not only related to the technical aspect of it, stolen data, damaged database, or damage intellectual properties. So the damage also extends to the company's reputation. In the assessment line, in the assessment lab, what was taken, we can see a security breach. We can see the exploit they used, what was taken, what was lost, and the likes. So below are some measures a company should take when a security breach is identified. Communicate the issue. In fact, every kind of issue, like my facilitator said that anything, even though very small thing that is irrelevant, communicate it to the admin of your organization, because there might be a vulnerability in it sooner or later, and be sincere and accountable in case the company it has fault. Provide details, understand what caused and facilitated the breach, apply what was learned from the forensic investigation to ensure similar breaches do not happen in the future. So, like in our chapter 1, we talked about forensic analyzer or investigation as part of cybersecurity profession. Those are in our lab test assessment, that forms that I gave you, what was taken, those are the things, those are the, let me just say, few formats that they make use of to investigate the breach and to avoid again, and ensure all systems are clean, no backdoor were installed, and educate employees, partner, and customer. So in summary, this chapter has covered the way a cybersecurity professional analyze what has happened after a cyber attack, and we've explained security software and hardware vulnerability and different categories of security vulnerability. We've explained the different type of malicious software and the symptoms of malware explained. And some of the malware that was discussed included virus, worm, Trojan horse, spyware. Please take notes of this malware, just a hint. And the different way that attackers can infiltrate a system was covered, including social engineering, Wi-Fi password cracking, phishing vulnerability, and exploit. In fact, social engineering is another course on its own when it comes to cybersecurity. And we've also discussed blended attack, use multiple techniques to infiltrate and attack a system. So that was all about this chapter. So any questions, review, addition, observations, and the likes? Someone should please answer.
No question from my end, sir.
Okay, no questions. So I believe all of us understand. Okay. So I believe all of us now understand attack concepts and techniques of the cyber criminals. Okay, let me stop recording. Ah.